All right, welcome to Strong Dads. Hey guys, before we get started today, I'm going to give you just a little bit of preview as to our interview today with Fred and Lorraine Venis. They are the owner of Quality Auto Mart. And so we've had a bit of a relationship with Quality Auto Mart as Mark and Nancy Repke, the founders of Quality Auto Mart, have just been very strong individuals within our community for a long time. Recently, the business of Quality Auto Mart was sold off or transferred basically to Fred and Lorraine. And Fred is of the same quality of man that Mark Repke is. But here's the interesting thing. We all have a story. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about the story of Fred and how he kind of came up through being a young man, not always making great decisions, getting himself into some pretty significant trouble, and then having to find his way back. And part of that is recognizing the need to have Christ in his life. And so you just have to listen to a story. I hope you can get something out of it to realize that, just because maybe you've made some mistakes in your life, it doesn't mean everything has to be gloom and doom, everything's finished. No, in fact, it's really the opposite. Once you recognize where you're at and once you surrender, you can really see some amazing things that Christ can do in your life. So anyway, I hope you enjoy all of this show. I hope you enjoy. We had some good conversation with Lorraine being part of this because we got to talk a little bit about what it's like to work with your spouse in the same workplace, which Linda and I get to work with that as well. And so sometimes that throws some different challenges at us. So anyway, I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think. And without any more talk, here we go. Strong Dads wants to thank Quality Auto Mart and Service for being a proud sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Started in 1985 and going strong for all these years. Recently, Quality Auto Mart has transitioned from owners of Mark and Nancy Repke to longtime employee Fred and Lorraine Venis. For all your automotive needs and golf cart needs, check out Quality Auto Mart, located across from Indian Lakes on Highway 46 outside of Batesville, Indiana. All right, welcome to Strong Dads Doing Real Life. So I just came into Quality Auto Mart and owned by Fred Venis. Fred, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Merle. How are you?
I'm good. So let's go out and see your shop. Let's go see what you do.
Sounds good. Come on.
All right.
So we do full automotive service and repair. The guys also work on some golf carts. We do sales and service of those as well. 3-bay shop. Got my master technician, John, over here in the first. He runs the first 2 bays.
Hey, John.
Pete's on vacation this week, so no hi from him. But carts and stuff run in and out of this bay. We get a full line of them all the time. Guys,
You do both cars, so obviously you're a sponsor of ours, so we always talk about the cars, the automotive work that you do, but also the golf carts.
correct. We do.
How long have you guys been doing golf carts, and why did you get into golf carts?
About 25 years we've been doing golf carts now. And if you look across the street, there's a 600-acre campground. And a guy came over one day and said, "Can you fix it?" And it started way back then. And we fixed it, and he told all his friends.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, where the entrance is down there. Okay. And so you've been doing them ever since.
Yep. It kind of took off, and we was the only one around with that type of niche.
Okay. So I know that you recently acquired or purchased this business from Mark and Nancy Repke.
Correct.
Right? And so how did you get involved with Mark and Nancy?
Oh, boy. 20 years ago. I hired on here with Mark, and him and I I've known him mostly my whole life.
Okay.
Mark's been a real strong feature in my life, that sort of thing. And I mean, that being said, we've been working the last 5 years of them wanting to retire and get out, and me wanting to take over. And it just, he made it happen.
Yeah, yeah. So he started things, and you just continue to pick it up and keep it running.
That's right.
All right. So is there any kind of? I know when Mark first started, he did a lot of just muffler work.
Yeah.
Where is that now?
So we still do. We have the vendors for pipe and everything. We still do, custom exhaust work, exhaust repair, but we also upped our game to full automotive service, along with it.
Okay. So
we are still the only ones around that custom bend by hand, and we just we keep that, of course.
Yeah.
And we moved into full service too.
All right. Well, this is pretty cool just to see the opportunity that you had, especially through a mentor like Mark, who brought you in and just gave you the opportunity to do something that you like to do, and actually then build a business. Let's go back and find out a little bit about your backstory that got you involved as being a strong dad.
Sounds good.
Fred and Lorraine, how are you guys doing?
Good, Merle.
Good, good. So, Fred, you and I just had a chance to walk out through your shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a little bit about your backstory just because of being associated with Mark and Nancy Repke. And that's actually how we got started in our sponsorship with them several years back. And since then, though, you guys have taken over Quality Auto Mart, right? And now, are Mark and Nancy around at all, or you kick them out?
No, Mark stops in once in a while to say hi.
Yeah.
And just keeps himself in the view.
Yeah.
I think he can't let go of it, like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
well, it's been his baby.
Yeah.
He kind of birthed this whole thing.
He likes to see it taken off.
Yeah, yeah. It's a win-win for everybody then. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So obviously, I reached out to you because we're doing Strong Dads Doing Real Life.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is the idea of, I think sometimes when we talk about our faith, when we talk about being Christians, a lot of guys talk like, well, I couldn't even walk into church. A bolt of lightning would hit the church or me, or something's bad's going to happen. And Kyle and I in our work, and in my work as a counselor and a coach of men, all of us have got a past. All of us have been broken. All of us have some kind of story. And I think the more that we hide behind that, we don't become who we could become.
Yeah, right.
Right. Whether it's a level of embarrassment or we're timid. And so, coming out into the real world and actually meeting real men and families that are doing life is really what we want to do at Strong Dads. Right. So I just appreciate that you open your doors up to us coming in and talking and kind of getting a little bit of the backstory. Okay.
Great.
So, Fred, tell me a little bit about your dad's story. Like, I always ask, what's your dad's story? Meaning, how was your dad and you? How was that growing up?
So all through my childhood years, my father was supportive of me as a person. Okay, no question about that. And my parents were very much, they backed me up. They did not, however, back up my moving out.
They didn't throw you out. Huh?
No, they didn't throw me out.
Okay.
I chose to leave when I was not ready to leave, but I did it anyway. And that was where there was a little bit of a grind there between us for a while. And then through a series of bad decisions, I found a way to lose my pride that I had that stopped me from going further and found my way back to my family.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want the story about the jail or not?
Only
it doesn't matter to me.
To share. I mean,
yeah.
I'm assuming you got in a level of trouble or something.
Yeah, when I was in high school, just actually fresh out of high school, I hurt myself at work. Okay, I worked constantly, and after hurting myself at work, made pretty good money, for where I was at, and decided that I couldn't do my job. Doctors told me I had to, what was it? My back was messed up. I couldn't go back to work and do the job that I was supposed to do. And turned out I ended up selling drugs, through just a decision that I knew people that used them, and I knew where to get them from. And it was like, well, I can put these people together. And, So I sold drugs to some people. I got caught, and I did some jail time. And really, where the pride comes in is all I had to do is ask my family for help instead of making dumb decisions like selling drugs.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, and so that's how I think, that's how God beat that out of me.
Yeah.
You know, and those decisions also turned us into moving here.
Okay. You weren't from around here at that time?
My father worked at Batesville Casket for 25 years.
I got you.
Okay. And we ended up moving up north when they shut down his department there. We moved up north to LaGrange, Indiana. I'm not sure if you know where that's at or not, but we moved up there, and that's where all this happened, was up there. And I always liked it here. It was always a great place, friendly people. Everything was great. And we decided that, we had kids. We decided that we weren't going to raise our kids in an area where they're going to be known as the drug dealers' kids.
Yeah.
And it brought us, it brought us down here.
Yeah. So you guys were married when all that happened, or you were together?
Yes.
When that happened. Okay. Yeah. So you said God basically beat it out of you. What was your faith understanding or relationship back in those days? Was it? Did you come up with anything?
On my mother's side of the family, my parents were divorced, and then so on my mother's side of the family, unfortunately, it's more common than not. Church was used as a babysitting service. Okay. The bus came and picked us up in the city. We lived down in Evansville at that point in time. The bus came and picked us up, and we went to church, and it brought us back. After that, when I moved in with my father, that was my beginning of high school. Was my freshman year of high school when I moved in with my father, and life changed at that point. I was free to make decisions, and I was open. I was able to openly ask about, what's your thoughts on God and religion and everything else. And he actually, he was a believer. My mother's a believer. Church going, not really, but absolutely, Christian beliefs, and believe that Jesus was there for us and died for our sins. It wasn't until after her and I got married that actually it was before that. Yeah, until her and I got together, that she brought me more towards church and following and things in that nature.
Yeah. What kept you from giving up on Fred?
I grew up in a Christian area, Christian church, and that was just my base. I strayed myself, but something just kept pulling me back and said, this is where you need to be. And knowing his history and knowing what he was missing something. So well, let's go. Let's just put ourselves there. And before we got married, we were both baptized. So, that was just our beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Fred, you talked about the idea of God kind of beat it out of you, and then you also earlier used the word pride. I deal with pride all the time, both personally with myself as well as with the many men that I work with. Pride traps us into a real false belief, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
You're just like, I can do this, or you can't tell me, or I already know better, right? So what was it like to have to humble yourself? Like, what was that process like that finally made you kind of drop to your knees and say, okay, I'm done with this?
It was painful.
Yeah.
It truly was. It was something that, I didn't even realize it was an issue until the issue had caused, further problems. Everything about the decisions that we made or that I made felt natural. It was so easy to overlook the simple fact that all I had to say was help. And pride, the pride that I had in who I was and what I had become was so debilitating. And I wasn't even able to make proper decisions because I was so full of it.
Yeah. Lorraine, did you see that in him, or were you kind of just in the middle of it with him?
I don't know that I saw it right away, just because you're that close to it.
Yeah.
You're living your life side by side. When things got a little changed, kind of open your eyes a little bit, but that's still not like, it's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
It's hard to change. So no, I didn't see it right away.
Yeah. Well, we use phrases like he's stubborn or he's bullheaded, right?
That just doesn't leave.
Yeah. Yeah. And those can be great traits when it's talking about perseverance, right? And driving through a tough situation. But it also can be just as much of a curse when it's got you stuck on the idea of just admitting your rights and your wrongs, right? So you finally kind of get kicked and fall to the ground. How does that change your operation of day-to-day work at that point? You know, like what becomes different? What have I noticed different in you? I'll just say pre-Jesus, post-Jesus, even though you may have already had Jesus in there. But what was different?
There's a lot of difference there. We worked in trailer factories, mobile homes, things like that up northern Indiana. I honestly believe that all of this was part of a plan that God put together for us.
Yeah.
Okay, we wouldn't be here. We would not be here. We would be up there, still working in trailer factories and pushing ourselves and not having any involvement with our community. My backstory absolutely helped me get more in tune with what was going on around me and how to help people. And it worked. It did a lot for my kids, to be able to pass on information with the background of actually knowing what I'm talking about, to helping to teach them things further than just going, well, you shouldn't do that. This is why you don't do that now, and I actually know what I'm talking about. There's things along that helped.
Yeah.
Without any of this happening or without God being part of it, we wouldn't be owning this company right now. We wouldn't be, standing behind, Strong Dads or anything else. We would be different people.
Yeah. Yeah. How has it played a part in how you treat a customer and how you decide what business decisions you guys are going to go after? Where does God color that for you?
Well, I think it made it pretty simple that everybody has a story, and so there's no judgment involved anywhere with, somebody walks in the door and needs help, a customer, anybody, they're all on the same playing field at that point in time.
Yeah. I think it's kind of interesting. Like when I work with a lot of guys, some guys you kind of have to get a kick in the butt to get them to get moving. But I find it just as dangerous to have my guys that I work with that are highly motivated and maybe smart or gifted in a certain area. And they kind of think they do know it all. Right. And so I have a feeling you were always driven. You were always a guy who figured stuff out pretty quickly, whether it was mechanical stuff or that kind of thing.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. And so how does you thinking you know how to do things, how does that get in the way of you being able to be humbled?
It took a long time for me to figure out how to, how's it go? Be quick to listen. That took a while.
Slow to talk.
And slow to talk.
Yeah,
that's the rest of it.
Yeah,
it took a lot to figure that one out.
Yeah,
and to not always be the fixer right up front, to not have the answer every time, to make sure you've got the right answer when you give it.
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting because then you come under kind of the wing of Mark Repke, and so at some point you had to become coachable.
Yeah, I hope that's what. Right? I mean, that's what I think he saw.
Yeah, Yeah. So at some point he had to see something in you that said, "Hey, he's got ears. He's willing to listen here." All right. So let me ask, for you guys, what is your dream now with Quality Auto Mart, and what does your faith have to do with that dream? And just play out the next, 3, 5, 10 years.
Oh boy. Let's see, 3 to 5. Owning this company has been a large undertaking. We've got a lot going on here, her and I. I want to say the word perfecting it, but if you ever think you got it perfect, you're never growing. So we want to keep growing it instead of perfecting it. And the end goal is to find another me, somebody who wants it, somebody that I can train to become the new owner of this company and hopefully, take over when I step out like Mark did for me.
Yeah.
You know, Mark and Nancy were great leaders, and taught us a lot about, you know, how to interact with people and what this business can do, and how to make it more. So that, you know, they didn't leave and go, good luck. You know, they left and said, if you ever need anything here, you know, we're still here.
Yeah.
And that's for sure.
Yeah.
They absolutely are. So, moving forward from that, 10 years, like I said, maybe somebody to take over. I'm probably 20 years would be that idea. You know? But that's the goal, you know, to pass it on to someone else who can, you know, make it run just like we are.
Yeah. Do you have any kids interested?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
At that point, maybe grandkids.
Maybe later, but yeah.
Maybe grandkids
they've got
at that
their
point.
paths too. So.
Our kids are, our youngest, the twins, are 23. So
Okay.
yeah,
Those
they're
are
already
youngest.
in their career path.
Yeah. Any advice that you guys would share to a dad, to a couple that maybe are your age or a little younger or whatever, that have just maybe struggled with some pride or what decision to make next in their life to make a better path? Any ideas or advice that you guys would give?
I think I would tell them to sit down and talk and look at the bigger picture in life. Don't look at here and now, look at what you're going to do later. It took us a long time to change the path we were on. And it wasn't easy. And like you said, we moving for a different area, a new start, growing.
Yeah.
Don't just look at the here and now, look at later.
Yeah. Fred, how about you with any of the young bucks out there that might think they've got it all together and they know? What would your words to that man be?
Find a confidant. Find somebody that you can see yourself being later on in life, that you would look up to, that you know, has all of the things that make you feel happy. You know, that's got a good relationship with God, that's got a good relationship with himself, and talk with that person. You know, begin to move into the direction of seeing where you want to be, not where you feel like you're stuck at.
Yeah, good. So I'm going to go down one other direction that I might not go down a lot of times when I'm doing just a man-to-man interview. But Lorraine, since you're here, so Linda and I started Rock Solid Families back in 2018, and we had been counselors all up until then in some form or another. So it's not like we didn't know how to do that part. But when we started our business together, our ministry, our marriage got hit from a whole different angle. Not always bad, but just different tensions, and we go to work at the exact same place every day, just like you guys. We have to talk about the same bills and the same expectations and how work's getting covered or not getting covered, and sometimes weighing in on each other's work. And all those brought some tensions that we didn't have. And there for a while, we were like, is this gonna be a good thing or not? You know, like, how is working together as a couple to run Quality Auto Mart?
I have to say it's completely different from what I've done before working with him. We've worked together before, but we've worked in opposite ends of buildings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you drive in, you may have lunch, you drive out. Other than that, there was no interaction really. Here, I sit right next to him. I mean, I could punch him if I need to. But yes, there's ups and downs. We've learned how to have certain conversations and kind of when to have those conversations. And yes, is it still in the works? Absolutely. It's not perfect, and it may never be, but we're working on making those changes and making it work.
Yeah. Brad, how about you? Don't say the wrong thing. She's within one shot.
There really isn't a wrong thing if it's honest. So, and the honest part of it is, we've worked really, really hard at keeping business and home. Okay. Now, do they overlap? Absolutely. And that's what I think she's talking about with the, you know, learning to talk about business. We got to open the business door first. Go, okay, let's talk a little about work, you know. And so keep some of the emotion that, would try not to make it personal is what
Yeah.
what we do when we come to that.
Good point. Yeah, that's one of the things that Linda and I have had to do. We've had to learn to say, hey, let's put some boundaries. Tonight we're going out. No talking about work.
Right.
No talking about work. Let's just talk about whatever else but work. So those kind of things have helped keeping us from stepping on landmines when we really just don't need to do that. Well, guys, do you have any last thing that you'd like to say? I appreciate just you giving me the time here today. It's really been great.
I don't know what I would say last. I mean, I think what you're doing is fantastic, so keep it up.
Thank you.
But I mean, not really. I don't have any last words of wisdom.
All right. Well, again, I just want to thank you. Guys, if you need any auto work or golf cart work, check out Quality Auto Mart, located on Route 46 outside of Batesville, Indiana. You guys have a web page or a phone number or anything you want to give?
QualityAutoMartandService.com, golfcartdude.com, or you can give us a call at 812-934-2301.
You said golfcartdude.com?
That's right.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
That's
And
right.
They're both out on Facebook too.
Okay.
And
Both on
Instagram.
Facebook. All right. So, guys, for any of those kind of needs, come check these guys out. Also, the idea of let's support other folks that are really trying to do it God's way and inviting God into the business. So let's support Quality Auto Mart and other companies that are doing the same kinds of things. So, guys, I want to thank you very much. Thanks for your time. And
Thank you.
we will keep it rolling with Quality Auto Mart and Strong Dance.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marl.
Great.